Yes, it's true. Buying things like this, buying tokens from the Pump.fun ecosystem, from the Memecoin launchpad on Solana, that's very risky. But it seems like recently some of the tokens are going up. But it's specific tokens. And in this video, we're going to look at the details, at the data most people are not looking at. Specifically, we try to find out why is it that PNUT is suddenly rallying that much. It has more than doubled this week and it has almost tripled this month. Now it looks like a lot of the Pump.fun ecosystem tokens are recently going up, but it's not all of them. And there is a distinctive characteristic between the ones that perform better and the ones that don't perform that well. Now Memecoin trading is a player versus player game. And so most people just look at websites, they just look at the documentation, they try to get a market edge that way. But I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think it's better to follow the data. It's better to figure out who's currently buying, who's currently selling, what's the cause of a certain rally or potential crash. Have a look at this. This is the trading volume of PNUT in the last 24 hours on the spot market. Binance is leading the trading with more than 300 million worth of PNUT transactions. Now there's also bets on the price, and that's the perpetual futures. That goes with leverage. And over here in the last 24 hours, we saw 1.6 billion of trading volume. Now, isn't that fascinating? We've got way more capital in the bets on the price than what's happening directly in the market. Let's have a look at those bets in a bit more detail. What we see over here is the open interest weighted funding rate. What this means is how much do the longs have to pay the shorts or the shorts have to pay the long in order to open their position on the perps. When this is very green, it means that the majority of people want to bet on rising prices. This is when the longs pay the shorts. This is when leverage costs money. When this is red, it means that the majority of perp traders bet on falling prices. So now the shorts have to pay the longs in order to bet on falling prices. Now recently, we tend to go up again. In other words, getting more exposure to PNUT, getting more leverage does cost money. We can also see a strong correlation of the open interest and the spot price. So the green area is correlated with the yellow line. When there's a lot of bets on the price tends to go up. When there's less bets, the price tends to go down. And so we can see that especially recently, the bets on the price have increased much faster than the price itself. So this is a levered, derivative-driven rally. We are going to look at this in more detail in a second by looking at the on-chain data. Why would there be such a rally? Of course, the market makers make money with liquidations and financing fees, etc. More volatility means more money, more revenue for the market makers and the Binances of this world. Now, this is not the first video on PNUT on this channel. I published 7 other videos already, and the very first video outperformed the average video. In other words, people were very interested in the PNUT token in the early days. The last video, however, just performed according to average. So it seems like over time, the interest in PNUT has decreased. Now that very first video was published when the price was still at 11 cents. That was over here on this chart. Subsequently, the price went up by almost 2000%. And then of course, as with every meme coin, at some point the rally deflates. At some point, capital moves to another token. It's not sexy to call it pump and dump, but in fact, it is a pump and dump, right? All the Pump.fun ecosystem tokens, they rally sometimes and then they crash again. It's all about market timing. But where are we right now with the PNUT token? Who's currently causing this rally? And how large is PNUT relative to other tokens? How much upside is there still? Here we've got the trending tokens on the Solana chain. And PNUT is the 5th largest token when considering liquidity. There's more than 10 million worth of PNUT on the chain. Here's PNUT relative to Solana. So if you had been early, you could make a lot of money. If you hadn't been that early, you probably lost. But now we are coming back up. But I want you to remember how much of a rally this is compared to all the other volatility we've seen before. We of course do see more first-time traders entering the token. So there are new investors that now trade. This is just the last month. We also see more token transactions per day. Now here's the trading volume in US dollars. And in the early days, we saw much more trading volume on the Solana chain compared to today. Over the months, we saw more and more of the trading volume coming to the small retail wallets, so the wallets that have less than $1,000 worth of the token. In the last few days, it seems to be mainly the larger wallets again that take over the trading. And here is what I find especially interesting. We do see how the whales and medium-sized retail and small retail all buy into the token. So in order to be counted here for the chart on the left, a wallet has to hold at least $1,000 worth of the token. It's 10,000 in the middle. It's $100,000 on the right. So it's 3,000 tokens, 30,000 tokens, 300,000 tokens. But yeah, look at how much this is going up. And again, compare this with this price rally. It seems like the price is appreciating much more than the number of holders is going up. So this is again not a spot driven rally. This is not that much demand coming from holders on the Solana chain that's pushing up the price. What's happening instead is that there's more and more bets on the perpetual futures market. I mean, this is 1.6, 1.7 billion worth of trading volume on Binance alone in 24 hours only. This then, of course, causes a lot of trading volume. The open interest is sky high. And this then brings us to the introduction of this video. What distinguishes PNUT from other Pump.fun ecosystem tokens? It's the availability on the centralized exchanges on the perpetual futures market. If a token within Pump.fun can be levered through the perps, then there is a chance that the token rallies a lot. If the token has no leverage on Binance, for example, then it's much less likely that it's going to rally in a market environment like this. Just compare this. This is the smallest Pump.fun ecosystem tokens. So the market cap is very small, just a few $1 million. And just have a look at the performance in the last week. It's very mixed, right? Some tokens are red, some tokens are green. And even if they are green, they are not massively green. They are rather small gains. Compare this with the largest Pump.fun ecosystem tokens. It's mainly green, and some of those tokens have more than 100% or even 200% of gains. Again, this is perpetual futures leverage increase. There are not hundreds of thousands of new retail investors coming in. There's simply a lot of leverage that now gets into the market that then also, of course, gets hedged on the spot market as well. But it doesn't make sense to take on more risk by buying a smaller Pump.fun ecosystem token, by buying a small meme coin, when that meme coin is not listed on the centralized exchanges. It seems like what's currently going up is the things that do have leverage really available. So it's not always true that the smaller token goes up more during times like this. We have to figure out why things are going up. And when it's currently mainly leverage for the meme coins on Solana, then we should only get into those tokens, right? We should not necessarily buy something where there's no perpetual futures available. Now, it appears as if everything is going up in this market, but it's not as easy. It's still in the end a player versus player game, and a lot of people got wrecked before this rally. The top performing crypto categories right now are Politify, but also picking up now Solana memes and AI agents, all the kind of tokens that did very well just a few months ago. Now, especially with the smaller altcoins, it's not a fair game. It's player versus player, but it's also insiders versus the public. The public doesn't know as much as the insiders, and so on average, the average retail investor does lose money. It's really a rather mixed picture. Have a look at this. This is Solana's trending tokens. There's some green, there's some red, but in the end, even during the meme coin hype in the last few months, Bitcoin dominance continued to go up. So clearly, it's not enough to just buy a representative basket of altcoins and hope for those to outperform Bitcoin. If we speculate with altcoins, we have to be somewhat active. Otherwise, we just go with BTC. BTC tends to do better than most altcoins most of the time. Now, very often the market makers and the insiders, they get away with this, right? For example, the Ohm token crashed by more than 90%, a drop of 4.5 billion. Up to this day, we still don't know who profited from this crash. The money is not gone. It's just held by somebody else. Now, what can we do in a situation like this? I think the best approach is to try to be as close as possible to the insiders. And that's the nice thing about the blockchain, right? We can see the official transactions. And if we do a bit of digging, we can find out the wallets of people that move prices. For example, over here, we've got transactions of Kyle Chessy and of other influencers that bought SPX 6900 very, very early. When we found the wallet of an insider, we can get notifications whenever those people buy and sell something. And because of that, I made a video on SPX 6900 in the early days. And that video was not that popular because most people didn't know about the token at the time. But it came out when the price was still at 10 cents. It then made this parabolic run of 1,300% and of course crashed back down with the rest of the market. But I try to be early on this channel. I try to cover tokens that are bought by the insiders that still have upside potential, so feel free to subscribe over here. Now here's another example, Fartcoin. We got purchase notifications at 4 to 5 cents and subsequently there was a 4,000% run, then of course our correction, but still from that signal the price is up almost 2,000%. It's all a player versus player game. The insiders make most money. And the way we get all of those signals is again by finding the wallets of people that influence the prices. So again, with the example of Kyle Chessy, we've got 12 of his wallets. In total, we track more than 419 wallets. We find the wallets through various approaches, the NFTs that they hold, the current holdings that they might make public, related transaction wallets, all kinds of different approaches. There are dedicated tutorial videos on how to find influencer wallets available as well. What you're seeing over here is the paid Telegram channel. So we've got a dedicated chat just on finding new influencer wallets where we then add them to our tracking channel. So that tracking channel is also available, of course, to the premium members. And so the closer we are to the people that move prices, the more we can mimic their performances. So over here, what we see is various trades that have been made by the community. Of course, I'm not sharing the exact tokens that have been traded, but yeah, those are some examples of what is achievable with the right information. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $125 per month. The link is down below. It's thebitcoinstrader.com. You will also see a link to the premium membership now directly popping up on this video. Again, if it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.